Welcome back to the Calm Mind Podcast. I'm here with Toby, my lovely, handsome co-host. How are you doing, Toby?
I'm good. I'm well. How are you doing, Ron?
Not the best. My week has honestly been one of the worst. But, I mean, relative to my other weeks, not like the worst in all of humanity. But I hate how you have to always elaborate these kind of things.
Well, yeah, because now I want to know what's going on. Why don't you have a calm mind? What's going on?
Okay, I'll try. So, basically, I refixed my sleep schedule, I guess, where it's like, my alarm clock was always next to my bed, so I could always turn it off and then go back to sleep. I put it away, just like how you should, you know.
Great practice,
out of reach from your bed. But because of that, you know, like, whenever you know that, okay, now you have an actual limit to your sleep, you actually have to get this amount of sleep, or else you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna be able to go back to sleep. So when you're falling asleep, you're just anxious. You're like, oh, why am I not asleep? Oh, I'm getting less sleep than I should because I know that there's a limit now. and then it goes from like half an hour to even an hour of just me in bed stressing, oh, I should have been asleep an hour ago. Now I only have 7 hours of sleep instead of, oh, I get to oversleep if I do sleep less.
Is that something you genuinely experience? Like I don't have that.
Every time I try to fix my sleep schedule, that happens. Especially like before going to school, you know, back to school, whenever you're like, oh, okay, now I have to actually wake up at a specific time. Oh no, I'm not falling asleep because I'm anxious, so I have to go to school the next day or whatever, and I know that I'm gonna have to wake at a specific time, so now I'm getting way less sleep than I wanted. It's just like you're psyching yourself up too much.
And how are you doing at school as a result now?
Well, that's the thing. So like now I'm just tired while I'm working the whole day, but also here's what's even worse is that I don't know what it's called, where it's like it's not actually a nightmare, but it's like for an hour you're just in bed, kind of in and out of sleep, and you're kind of thinking about the same thing over and over again. It's like a loop. Like sometimes for me it's like a song lyric. Like I'll keep on hearing the same end of a song, and it's almost like it's harassing me in my sleep. And it's like this entity.
Like an earworm.
It's an earworm, but like a nightmare earworm. Not like an actual earworm where you're like singing it along during the day.
Is it a song that you enjoy though, or is it a song that you're like, oh, I hate this song? It's still going.
It's usually in the middle. It's never like a song I love and it's never a song I hate. It's always like a song that maybe my subconscious is like trying to have an opinion on or something like that. Like the last time that happened, you know the rapper Lil Dicky?
Yeah, I know Lil Dicky. Lil Dicky's great.
So he had like a song called the kind of like the We Are the World kind of song. What was it? Like about saving the earth or whatever. But it's like that's not like the best song ever, but it's still catchy. So it's like probably if it wasn't catchy to me, I would have not liked the song. And because of that, your brain is like kind of resolving that while you're asleep. So the whole night, like 2 years ago, whenever that song came out, I was just like repeating the song, and like the part when it says like, and I'm Kanye West, and it's like I'm just, so in my mind, and I'm Kanye West, and I'm Kanye West, and I'm Kanye West in my mind while I'm trying to fall asleep for 2 hours.
Awful.
But okay, so that's happening. That was happening 2 days in a row this week, and what was in my mind was not a song, but rather how we release this podcast.
Right.
Basically, I'm super worried about the logistics of the release of our podcast, which hasn't been released at the point of recording this. So the earworm in the back of my head is basically, what do I have? Like, what are the things we have to do? But it's like unintelligible. Like obviously I know what I have to do, but in my mind I'm worried, and it's just repeating all the steps that we have to do when releasing the videos.
I completely understand that, and actually, and I relate to that a lot. I have my to-do lists, and it's very much like when I'm aware that there's an overwhelming amount of things coming up, and again, logistical things, like, it's not just like make a video, it's, you know, film a video, edit it, send it to the editors, whatever, you know, review that process, make the thumbnail, do the tags, do the things. All of these things have to find a place, and when you're doing a big project, like launching multiple episodes of a new thing, and sharing it to all the various social medias,
and it feels like a lot. With another person's channel and your own videos, when to put it in your video.
Doing a post for in the video, you can do something like a community tab on Twitter, on Discord, on Instagram, doing a TikTok, like all of these things. I completely understand the stress. What's amazing about this, though, is by the time the rest of the world is hearing about this stress you're experiencing, you're going to be through it. It's all going to be okay. You're going to be past it.
What made it even worse. Was basically, so I'm tired after 2 days of like not getting enough sleep because I'm having these nightmares basically. And then last night, I'm like, okay, I gotta go to sleep. I think I resolved this issue. Let me get into bed. And all of a sudden, I see a bunch of dead ants. And all the precautions that I took to destroy the ants that I thought I did, and I thought the ants are gone forever, they're back. And it seems like there's even more now. And now they're all dead on my bed. Before, the ones that were on my bed were alive, so there were only a few. But now there's a lot of dead ones on my bed and around my bed. And I think we know the problem. But again, I said that last time.
What do you think the problem is now?
Well, so I sealed up I said there were cracks in the window.
Yeah.
So I sealed that up. So for 2 weeks, they were gone. But not only are they accumulating inside the window, but because it's the weather is getting warmer, I think the wood expands and has revealed more cracks. So I didn't do the best job I could, I guess, with sealing the window. Now I just have to go overboard and seal every part of that wall, I guess.
I'm so sorry. I can feel your stress, like the anxiety of like I can't sleep, plus
ants.
Ants, just the ants, just being annoying ants. You're never gonna like ants ever again.
These aren't like picnic ants, like tiny little. These are like the fully adult winged carpenter ants. Like they're bigger and they're laying eggs. So, and also again, this is like right as I'm trying to fall asleep. So now so I don't go to sleep for another hour. I have to take my mattress and just put it somewhere else to fall asleep because I'm not going to sleep near, even if I vacuumed all the ants, I don't want to sleep there. But after this podcast, like literally when we stop recording, I have to not go and seal up the windows. Even though it was a beautiful day, I was going to go for a walk through the forest. It was going to be nice. I don't know. Anyway.
I'm sorry. The fight against the ants continues. Oh, mate. I'm sorry. That sounds genuinely very, very stressful. What can I say? And the sleep thing is super important because it affects everything, like if you're tired when you wake up, that's your mood set for the day. And I can't imagine the frustration of lying there and needing to go to sleep and not being able to. I've always been particularly well blessed with fall asleep whenever, wherever, relatively easily actually.
Really?
Yeah, I have do you know I've got another Instagram called BirdSleeperToby? Do you know about this?
I think I do, but no, I guess I don't. I just know that obviously the theme that you sleep. Everybody knows that you sleep.
Yeah, I haven't uploaded to it in a long time, but it's just pictures of me at conventions.
Oh yeah, okay. I just thought that was someone else's.
Off me.
I thought that was someone else's Instagram and they were just
right. People take pictures of me asleep at events because I take a nap more or less everywhere. Though I believe that phase of my life, and it was quite a big phase, is now over because over the last, I don't know, year, especially while I've been monitoring my diet a little bit more closely, I've managed to get to a point where my energy is maintained pretty well throughout the day. I do find that when I break my diet and break my routines, that messes with me. Like I'm straight back there. I need a nap middle of the day, that kind of thing, pretty consistently. But,
I'm the type of guy who hates naps because when you wake up from them, you just feel way worse. Apparently, I'm assuming you don't.
No, I don't.
So it really is. It's like humans are split into two types of people: the people who like naps and people who just feel worse after them. And I don't know what kind of biology thing is going on. Like, what's the difference in our DNA? How does it work? So I'm always tired.
Maybe that's like a Mediterranean siesta type thing. I don't know. That's a thing, isn't it?
I'm Middle Eastern, so it's like,
oh yeah, okay.
So I'm assuming we take more sleeps than the Europeans.
I suppose.
But I've heard like two white guys talking about this, and they have completely different, opinions on naps. So I don't know if it has to do with culture, but it may.
I don't know.
It probably does, actually.
Part of my ancient Greek heritage that makes me want to nap all the time. I have no idea.
But now, so you basically said that you can sleep anywhere, and what's funny is that I'm kind of half-half in terms of that kind of deal, where when I was like commuting to school, I would easily be able to sleep on buses and with while listening to the loudest music, like Pokemon battle music or something. But on the other hand, when I'm falling asleep like in my bed or anything, I can listen to I actually until like last year, I would have to listen to have something in the background like a TV at like the minimum like volume in order to fall asleep but that was mostly for the light. But if there's some kind of inconsistent sound in the background, I cannot go to sleep. So that includes like snoring or like pipes.
Snoring, I can't do. I completely get that. Completely.
Yeah, snoring is the number one thing. That's the worst thing, because you're also like tempted to like wake the other person up and tell them to stop, while like pipes, you can't really do anything about that.
No, you can't do anything about pipes. I definitely have woken people up who snore. Like, just rudely, I'll just grab a pillow. If I've got like a mate over and we're, for whatever reason, stuck in the same sleeping situation. Or a more common one is like at a convention and I've agreed to share a room with someone.
That's
and
the worst.
They've promised they don't snore. Yeah. And I know I don't snore. I've been very well reviewed. But I'll take the pillow and I'll like whack someone with the pillow and be like, I'm sorry, you've just got to wait for me to get to sleep. I'll be 10 minutes. Don't close your eyes till then.
No, okay, but here's the thing. I can't do anything, whether it be go to sleep, and especially I can't pee. I can't go to the bathroom under pressure. If someone's like, okay, you have a time limit, you have 5 minutes, we're going, or I'm waiting. If someone says, oh, I'm waiting for you, pee quickly, I want to pee, I can't do it. I won't be able to. I can't pee or go to sleep under pressure. So, because I'll be thinking about, oh, I should have been asleep 2 hours ago, just like the problem with the nightmares. It's like
performance anxiety, right?
Exactly. It's literally that. But here's what's crazy. The pee thing, it all started from a specific event. Before then, this wasn't a problem. So one day, like 7 years ago, whatever, I was taking a blood test.
Okay.
They took a lot of blood out of me, and I was not able to stay conscious. But then they're like, okay, but we also need a urine test. So go to the bathroom and, pee in a cup. But I kept on fainting as I was trying to pee.
Whoa.
So now I guess I'm traumatized, because I was like, oh no, I'm fainting, but they really need the pee. Oh no, I've been in the bathroom 15 minutes now. They think I'm weird or something. Why can't I pee? And now that I have that feeling whenever I need to pee, and people are either listening or waiting or...
You know what you need?
What?
Therapy.
I've brought it up. It's actually, so I have a therapist, and I did bring it up, and it has helped. So the solution, again, I still have this anxiety, but what made it a little better was I noticed that the fear was actually connected to social anxiety, which is what I am there for therapy. So basically, I'm afraid that they think I'm weird, that I'm peeing, or that I'm taking too long to pee, or that someone's listening and they think I pee weirdly.
We all have weird pee things. It's fine. I've got a weird pee thing. We've all got. I can't go at a urinal.
Same thing. Same for the same.
Have to go in. Oh my goodness, we're the same. I have to sit in a cubicle. I cannot stand, and the idea that someone else will walk in, I hate it. So I just have to sit in a cubicle every time.
I have not been at a urinal since the first grade. So since I was 6, because I guess there was an event where I was new school. In first grade, maybe like the first week, I went to pee, and then like a person from third grade, 2 grades above me, just walked in while I was at the urinal, and I don't know, maybe he said something that I got embarrassed. He's like, oh.
He was in the first grade.
I don't know why he was looking, but yeah. And then after that, I was just scarred, and I'm like, okay, I don't want my pee to lead to social situations. So whatever.
I mean, same. I don't like that as a social situation. I didn't know anyone else though that did. Same. That's so cool. We're kindred spirits. This is why we do the podcast, is to discover this.
That's why we're calm mind, because we need a calm mind while we pee.
Enter the zen. It's also just good social media time to sit down and just like check Twitter.
There's so many pee stories. That's not good. I didn't even finish this pee story.
We can't be a full pee podcast. Finish this story. Do this story.
Let me finish this story, and then I'll tell the other pee story in a different podcast. But it's so related. It's a perfect segue. But basically, in therapy, so the solution was basically to be like, in my mind while I'm peeing, is that everybody actually wants to listen to me pee and that they like it. So it's like whenever I'm peeing and I think people are listening to me, it's in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're cheering me on. Ron pee, yes. It's the worst, but it helps, because before that I'm like, oh,
go Ron, go
Ron, go. And like when I successfully pee, like in my mind, they're like, the audience is cheering, like, yeah, he did it. Kind of like that SpongeBob episode where like they just want their burgers, and he's doing stupid things, and then he just finally flips the burger, and the crowd goes wild.
Dude, that's amazing. I love that you've just shared that. That's you're gonna help a lot of people, I promise you. And if anyone's listening to this on YouTube, if anyone's listening to this, please say in the comments. This is a safe space for exactly that.
And it's always like the classic trope of like therapy, that podcasts are just like therapy for men instead of actually going to therapy. But I mean, this kind of helps. I just found out that, you know, one of my best friends actually has the same problems. So that's pretty cool.
That's it. I don't know what it is. I just, for some reason, the idea of being stood up, I can do it if the bathroom's completely empty. Fine, no problem. It's the moment someone else enters. And I don't want the small talk thing in the, you know, I know for lots of people it's a bonding experience.
But who is small talking while people aren't doing that?
But the thing is if you know someone and they walk in.
Yeah, true.
And it's not, well, like everyone pees, so it's fine if you wanted to have a chat, but it's like, this is like the most uncomfortable situation for me to be having a conversation or anything in. So I just lock myself away in the cubicle, go on Twitter, go on TikTok, it's all chill, and come out a little bit later.
Now I have the anxiety of the podcast not recording, just because I want everybody to hear the pee story. Because
this is gold. I can confirm that I'm still recording on this. I also want to check, you definitely picked up on the fact that I said therapy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I just really didn't want, I was very proud of myself for that. I just didn't want that to be missed.
It's the height of comedy.
That's it.
So, other than peeing, what have you been doing this week, Toby?
Other than peeing, of which I've been doing an excessive amount. Well, actually, no more than usual. I've not. Do you know what? I've had an opposite, a very stressless week where I've been rebuilding my routines and getting back into the groove. And I've actually had time to introduce a new show, one you recommended me. Parks and Rec into my life. Okay. And you mentioned at the end of the last podcast, you mentioned that you had seen When Harry Met Sally. And I wanted to ask you how you found it, because this is one of my favorite movies of all time.
So, once again, I mean, this is a very famous movie, and all the things that were awesome about the movie and that I liked, you definitely liked. So, like, I'm not going to now say every scene that I liked, because you're going to just say, that was a great scene. That was a great scene. But I think the things that is the personal experience and why I think this movie will stay with me forever is the fact, well, first, that normally comedy movies from like before 1999 I am not as big of a fan of.
Sure.
I guess just the humor isn't as relatable to me. When Harry Met Sally, it was one of the most interesting movies I've ever watched. I did not get bored the entire time. It was such a fascinating relationship, Harry and Sally. Like, everybody's heard about this movie, at least from our generation and the generations before. And so Harry and Sally are iconic film characters, but now I know why. Yeah. I ship Harry and Sally, like the whole movie.
What was your understanding of these characters before seeing the movie? Did you have any idea or conception of what the rom-com or like what it's about?
I thought there were two people that were dating, but that's like kind of the opposite. The
majority of the film they're not dating. Spoiler alert! It's been out for a while,
and it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Like, I felt like I was watching a show within a movie. Like, I would have wanted that to... I mean, it was such a tight script. It didn't need to be shorter or longer. It was a really good screenplay. But I would have taken a whole, 8-episode season of that movie.
You've got the friends in the film who are like a foil to Harry and Sally because they meet each other, they get on, and they immediately start going out. And they have that relationship while Harry and Sally spend the whole time in their own way. But maybe that's not that's intentional so that they can maintain a friendship. But they are the block. They are the only thing, and the only reason they're not in a relationship is because they don't want to be. And that's such a great tension for this rom-com, you know? And
also because they've realized that their friendship itself is so valuable to them. Yes. It really helped them through a tough time in their life. And I felt that. I felt like this whole time, I'm like, oh no, if he asks her out at this moment, or if she makes a move at this moment, this is going to ruin the entire relationship or something. And I mean, you're going to have to watch the movie and find out. But it just, so there was this tension of not just sexual tension, but also really well done, not horror, but it's oh no, I'm scared for their relationship.
Yeah.
And because anything could break it, because they're also very different people, but it's so cool to see such different people slowly become some of the best, most genuine movie friends I've ever seen.
Do you know what? You've just hit the nail on the head for me with something that I've wondered for years and not been able to express.
That extra spice in the movie?
Well, it's not that. It's that for me, and it's getting a bit personal here, but this was a film I had as part of my getting over a breakup. I first watched it when getting over a breakup involving my first big relationship, and so this was kind of a big emotional time for me. And watching that film, I don't know why, you would think watching a rom-com is a terrible thing to do post-breakup, but there was something about it that was quite, I don't know, freeing and quite exciting to watch. And I think it was seeing relationships in which, yeah, of course, clearly they would be wonderful together, but they actually spend the majority of the film just being friends and helping each other through this breakup. And I realized that a lot of my dynamics with friends and people I was dating after my big relationship were actually quite like that. And maybe that was something I was secretly unknowing. I was kind of like coveting just a friend that I could, talk to, and sure, the tension can be there, but we can actually help each other. And I had a couple of people in my life who were like that for a couple of years there before I eventually met the lovely Phoebe.
What was cathartic also about the same kind of situation, which is that you're seeing these people, I guess, are they in their 30s by the
Yeah, I think so.
People who are significantly older than me, still not resolving that part of their life.
Yeah,
they're still having that kind of trouble. There's still time for me, I guess, if they can do it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just them. I mean, throughout the film, you get these little beautiful cutaways to various couples who have met at various stages in their life. And that's actually one of the most sort of forgotten about but amazing parts of the film, is that the film just randomly cuts away throughout its scenes to couples and asks them, sort of, how did you meet? How did you know they're the one? What, these are the implied questions that they're answering. And that's it. It's just these nice little, because it's about that. It's about friendships and loves and dynamics. There's this beautiful line that you made me think about in the film where Sally goes, "I'm turning 40." And Harry goes, "When?" And she's like, "Someday." But I'm doomed, and it's beautiful. I'm glad you liked it. I'm really, really glad you liked it, dude.
I think the number one reason I like also this kind of movie is probably honestly the time skips. Like, I'm a huge fan. That's one of my favorite tropes of all time. And it's also the other movie that you recommended that I watched, Steve Jobs, has that too. And it's also another reason why I loved it. I just love seeing character development so quickly, but also naturally. I love when it's like, oh, this is obviously how they would be 10 years later or whatever. And it's just done well. So any form of media that I watch or consume that has time skips, I'm attached to it even more. I guess cartoons do it way more often because it's easier to do. And I mean, that's why I think every Rugrats. Okay, I'm a huge fan of not only Rugrats but All Grown Up, the sequel series where they're like 10 years old.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I'm one of the few that actually think it's a well done show, and I think it probably is because people are just nostalgic for Rugrats, so they just don't like change, I guess, because it's not worse than Rugrats. Obviously, it's not about babies, experiencing the world from their perspective anymore, so it's not as like novel and cool. But it's still like what's crazy to me about this show, All Grown Up, where these babies are now 10 years old. Not only are their like preteen selves very naturally, like you can tell these are the same exact kids, but 10 years later, but also they write these characters like they're 14, like this is a teen drama, like they have relationships and like tests and stress and like a lot of the same
when you just said that they're all 10, I was a bit like, aren't they teens? I thought, but it's been a long time since I've watched it.
Exactly. So it's like the same thing where it's like when you rewatch it, no, you realize they're 10, but they're having like teenage high school problems. It's the weirdest thing in the world. But like, I mean, that's kind of the problem where it's like, so that in cartoons, or at least just children's television, you always want to make the protagonist just slightly older than the main audience. And I guess the audience of All Grown Up was like 8, 9, right. So they made the characters 10. And that's the problem. The creators probably just wanted to make a teen comedy. I guess it's closer to like As Told by Ginger, which is the same studio. Have you ever seen As Told by Ginger?
I haven't, no.
I've never seen it, but I've just seen like clips and stuff. It's the same studio that made Rugrats, So it's the same like animation style, but it's like a teen comedy. Like there's actual teen problems and like humor that it's for teens. It's like PG-13. So that's probably what they wanted to do with All Grown Up. But the other thing that All Grown Up was so famous for me, for at least in my mind, was that every episode they were wearing different clothes.
What?
Which is completely different from any... you rewatch it and you realize, wow, every episode they're just wearing different outfits. and let's say like 10 episodes later they repeat the same outfit because like naturally you don't have like an infinite amount of clothes.
Wardrobe.
I can't think of any other like cartoon that does that.
Admittedly, that is something that, because, you know, why, once you've got a model, once you've got an animation, once you know how a certain clothing wears and fits and whatever, it is extra effort to create new outfits and to create new designs. And so actually that's really interesting. I didn't know that. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the show past watching it as a child, so I haven't given it that kind of second glance back. Maybe I should go watch it.
And admittedly, before we finish this part of the conversation, so Angelica and Susie, like the two older, like in Rugrats, they weren't babies; they were like the two girls. They are like 13 in the show, so it's like their problems are also part of the show.
Yeah.
And just like the Rugrats in All Grown Up generate different clothes in every episode, let us randomly generate a Pokemon, Toby.
Clean. Nice. I like that. Yeah, let's generate a Pokemon. That was the best segue. Look forward to more of these in future episodes of the Calm Mind podcast. Who we got today, Ron?
Okay. Hopefully it's not someone we already did, but we've only done 3 episodes and there are 900 Pokemon. Let's go. Ooh, Ursaring.
Ursaring.
That's a pretty
very
cool
Pokemon. Cool Pokemon. I was talking about it recently in a video that I was filming. I was just sort of expressing my not fondness of Ursaluna, the new evolution.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Do you like it?
I don't hate it. So there are some design aspects that I would have not done if I was the one designing Ursaluna. The fur doesn't look like fur. Like, because of the model, I guess. Although it's technically the same fur that Ursaring has, like the square, like, the fur on Ursaring is weird already. So it's like, I guess it makes sense. But also, like, there's a lot of negative space on the dirt that is on top of Ursaluna. Like, there's empty dirt space. I don't know, not a lot of detail on it. I like the fact that it's on all 4s. I like that it's quadrupedal. I love also the pattern that it has on its face. So there's dirt on top of the moon symbol on its face, so it looks like clouds over moon, like in the night sky, which is cool. But other than that, it's definitely relatively underwhelming, I guess.
See, that's something I actually don't like about it.
Really?
Because that's why because I think while it's cool in a sort of like, oh, that's a cool design element, you know, I also feel like, wait, so this is a living, real creature, you know, and like is part of its biology that there's dirt that looks like clouds, or there's like fur and it just feels so unlikely.
It's dirt though, like it's like the number one thing that you can encounter in the wild. It's very easy, especially for like a digging kind of Pokemon. It's very easy for dirt to be on them, especially since also they have to evolve with the peat block or whatever it's called.
Sure, but then it's such a specific pattern and configuration, you know what I mean, that it looks like a moon with clouds.
Well, Ursaring is based on the sun bear, right? So it's like it already has this pattern. That why does it have a sun pattern? It's just because, I mean, that's the animal naturally evolved to have that pattern that looks like the sun. And the dirt this would have been cool, but they didn't do it. It could have been like Spindo, where the dirt could have been in different configurations on the moon, on the forehead, so it could have been like different clouds. But if you sprinkle dirt on anybody's face, it'll look like clouds, I feel like. So it's like, so it's not that, again, it's not like, it's probably one of the least far-fetched in my opinion in terms of like
just,
a natural thing.
It doesn't look like, I'm looking at it now, it doesn't look like dirt. It just looks like cloud, and if the explanation is that's dirt, I'm like, well, dirt should be more random. I guess this is my feeling. I
agree that the dirt it doesn't look like dirt on the entire body. The entire body, I don't know, the texture of the fur and the dirt on Ursaluna, it just wasn't well done. But I think that's mostly the art style of Legends Arceus. So my point is that the dirt on its head is consistent with the weird dirt on its back.
Sure.
Or neck or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's just, all the dirt doesn't look good.
I feel cool. It's cool. It's certainly, don't get me wrong, it's not the Pokemon I like hate the most. I'm not going to die on this hill, on this Ursaring Hill, which I believe is a location. I think that's a location in game. I'm not going to die on this hill, but I will say I just feel that there have been years and years of fan art of what an Ursaring evolution could look like, and so there comes a level of expectation when you're playing with a very classic design like that. And I think it lost a lot of... It didn't take what Ursaring was and enhanced it from Angry Bear to really Angry Bear. Or so it sort of became this dozy, tired-looking creature. And I don't know, something about it just didn't quite fit with me, but maybe you disagree.
Well, here's my hot take. I don't like Ursaring as much as you may. I've never liked Ursaring that much until I just became a Poketuber and just... learn about every Pokemon. So it was always like just a Pokemon that I really thought was underwhelming as a bear Pokemon. It just looks like a bear. Honestly, it looks like a sun bear, and that's it.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah,
they're both average Pokemon for me.
Do you have a sort of favorite, like a preference for the new evolutions?
Oh, definitely. What's it called? Basculegion, dude. Also one of the coolest names ever. Basculegion. Super cool. Going from a Pokemon that it was negative for me. Like, who likes a Basculin as much as the average person? But like,
sure,
Basculegion is one of the top tier Pokemon. So I love when that happens.
Yeah, I can completely agree. I think, and what's wild about it is that they added. There's like multiple forms of it. There's like variations on it, which is wild.
I also really like the Basculin form. I like the Hisuian Basculin. That's a really interesting color for any Pokemon, honestly. And
what is it that for you? Because I know you're big on design. What is the thing that for you kind of makes a complete package like perhaps Basculegion?
Well, the concept is really cool too. And usually, even if I hate the design, the concept makes me hate it less. Especially considering the name Basculegion ties into the concept of it being like a combination of like souls, but also just Basculegion, dude. That's one of the coolest names ever. I think this is one of the few Pokemon where the name is a part of the reason I love it. And in Japan they don't have that name, so it's like it doesn't really matter. But so you know how they stylized the swirls on it? They're kind of jagged and look kind of ancient, like ancient paintings. I think the ghostly tail is what I love most about it, and the color scheme too. I love the combination of green and pink. So yeah, I think everything about it. I also love facial hair in Pokemon, apparently. Like, I even give a lot of my Fakemon facial hair. I like it just works for me.
It's one of those things where the swirl, I don't know what it is about that shape. Reminds me of Zelda the Wind Waker, so it's immediately like gaining points there. And I see what you mean. What I like about the facial hair on it is that it's over-exaggerated. It's not...
Yeah.
It's not trying to literally look like it's got the hair growing off of its face. It's a wisp of some kind. It's some kind of spiritual part of the design, I guess. I think it's fantastic. I completely agree, dude.
You ever watch Danny Phantom?
No, I just sort of missed it just by like, I don't know. I feel like if I was a year younger, I would have watched loads of Danny Phantom.
Oh yeah, you are like what, a year and a half, 2 years older than me?
I'm 28. What are you?
Oh, okay, well I'm gonna turn 26 soon, so yeah, you're 2.5 years older than me,
I guess. I feel like I just missed Danny Phantom, so there you go.
Okay, that makes sense, because I was gonna be like, what, we're the same age. Like, and that was during my prime of like cartoon watching. But okay, that sucks. But it's gonna be cool because we're gonna have different shows that we would have watched, and also, I mean, I guess I'm a animated show connoisseur, at least the ones that I've watched. So it's like, if you watched an animated show, I probably did like it, even if it was past my time or before my time.
We would have had, I assume, quite different shows as well, because Danny Phantom was a Disney one, right?
Nickelodeon.
No,
same guy.
Nickelodeon.
Butch Hartman made Fairly Odd Parents.
Right. Yes. Okay. Sure. So Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob. Obviously, I watched a lot of those, but we have obviously here we have CBBC, which is based on BBC, British Broadcasting. So we've got like cartoons, English cartoons that I assume you wouldn't have had in America.
But that's more for like children, like preschool cartoons. Those are the ones where it's different for different countries. But like once you're like 10 or 12. I feel like we have the same cartoons, and most of them are from America. Like, Possibly. Are there British cartoons that are aimed to like 12-year-olds, or just like the average kid that are only for British people?
I've got to think about that. I'm gonna like type in CBBC cartoons and see what I can find.
I don't know. Give me an example of a show that you watched as like a 4-year-old.
Like Cramp Twins. That was a classic.
I don't know what that is. So,
did you have Arthur?
Okay, Arthur was my number one show before the age of 6. That was because Arthur's a quality show, honestly. Quality.
Yeah, Arthur's great. They finished it, right? Recently. Yeah. They did goodbye.
Did you see the last scene or whatever?
No.
Where they're all adults?
No, I've got to watch that.
I loved probably the best plots for again a show that is not for like 12-year-olds but more for like 7-year-olds, because again the plots were like elaborate and actually like just it wasn't like educational in the sense of like they're teaching you the ABCs. It was just the perfect tone for kids 8 years old that could also be okay for adults to watch. I guess I can't think of any other show like that, because like once you get to like SpongeBob, that's a show that adults and kids can watch, but that's a kid show. That's not like a preschool show. You know what I'm talking about?
What about, where do you find Recess falls on that? Did you watch Recess?
Yeah, that's a kid. That's like just a normal kid show, and that's not like a preschool show. And even then, like I think that's a more of like even a preteen can watch. That's like up until age 12.
Recess was great.
I love any show like that where there's like a hierarchy in like the school, like Ned's Declassified. Have you ever watched Ned's Declassified?
I haven't. I have heard of it though.
So that is also a well done like show that takes place in middle school.
Do you know what these shows did for me? And they made me jealous of kids in America, because I felt that must be what it was actually like to be on like where because you got these big playgrounds and you've got you've got the playground swing set and the king of the playground, and like there's all these hierarchies and dynamics. That was not my experience in a British school.
Not any American's experience either. And the same thing, like so Ned's Declassified, all these people are just having these wacky situations where they get to like have they get to order food into school or like do construction and like turn an entire room into like a fort inside of a room. Like it's like, how do you do that?
Oh, have you watched Community?
Yeah, I actually really love Community. I kind of feel bad that I left it out in my top 5 like favorite series that we did in the previous podcast episode, because it's probably my second favorite comedy show.
You'd love this. There's an amazing video on YouTube talking about how Community and Recess are like the same. They've got like the same plot lines. They've got literally some episodes have the same plot lines, same groups of characters, so you can break everyone down to the same like stereotypes. And it's like, I think they maybe even have the same or a similar creative team behind them or something like that.
I would compare that to like Ned's Declassified, but I don't want to go too far into it because you haven't watched it. But it's like, no, Ned's Declassified was a show that people wanted to see like a high school version, and then I'm assuming like a college version like Community. It would have been exactly like Community, honestly. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
We've gone full circle to what we were just talking about before the generated Pokemon, you realize. We're talking about people want an adult version of the school version of the thing, which is what we were just talking about with All Grown Up and Rugrats.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's what's so cool that we went full circle, is that like this is the reason why I love time skip.
There's a consistent theme. I think what that does though is it's such a clever thing. It invites comparison, right, between what's the same? How do we know it's the same character? How do we know it's the same thing? What are the callbacks? But the more interesting stuff is what's different.
Exactly.
And why is it changed? Is that character growth? Is that situational change? What's happening? I love that stuff.
And it's cool when it's like you understand why they went to the change, because you've been with them through so much, and now you haven't seen them for a long time, but now because you just value this character so much, you're able to understand the decisions they made off screen, like after like 3 years or whatever. That's a well-written character like that. I'm talking about like small quirks, or like, they've picked up this sport, or they've picked up this thing. And it's like, that makes sense. They talked about that when they were a kid. They talked about liking that or whatever.
Do you know what? This is something I've thought about actually a little bit recently. I was thinking about, and you can use this if you're listening and you're pitching shows to people, you can use this. I had an idea for like a dark comedy show, right? In which we always think about like how cool it would be if you could like travel back in time, but into your younger self's body.
That is my number one dream. I think about that once a week, dude.
Right. Okay. But here it is as a series. You wake up and you're 10, you're 12, whatever, and you're like, suddenly you're sat at school, and you realize you're sat at school, and you realize this isn't a dream. Oh wow, super cool! I'm back in time. I can be super. But I've got the brain of an adult, so I can do all of the
more nuanced
things that you want to do.
Answers to people's like confrontations.
Right. You're gonna seem like the most intelligent person in the world. You're not gonna mess up on that friendship, the falling out that you had. You're not gonna mess up on that date situation. But hang on, wait. You suddenly realize, oh no, I'm 12. Date situation, horrible idea. No, I don't like that. Friendships, I haven't met that person yet. They're going to be my best friend in the future, but I now know everything about them. And suddenly it turns from like a really positive thing to like a really bad thing. You think, I'll play the stock market. How you can do that? You're 12. You can't do that.
That can't be a plot. That'll be a plot for like one episode, and then like what? You can't. Every episode is like, oh, I want to do this thing, but I can't. Like,
yeah.
So what do you do?
I just think that's the opening, and I love the idea of someone who's like turning 30. They wake up in their 10-year-old body self, and then we can check in with them again when they're like 20, and then we can check in with them again right before their 30th birthday and see how life's changed throughout that.
There have been movies like that and shows. So first thing, 13 going on 30 going on 13, or the opposite.
I haven't seen it.
Same kind of plot. She was 30 and she goes back into her 13-year-old. Oh no, it's the opposite. Never mind. It's the opposite. She was 13 and she all of a sudden is 30. There are a lot of movies where all of a sudden they're adults. That's a different scenario. But there is just like anything. Any time you come up with an idea, there's already an anime.
Yeah.
So I finished the first season. There's only one season so far of Tokyo Revengers, which is it's that plot, dude. Yeah, he's 25
really?
And he goes into his like 15-year-old body, or 13, 12, whatever. Yeah, and he has to like stop a. So he's 25, and all of a sudden, his girlfriend from high school is dead. Like he hears that she died, and all of a sudden he's 13 again, and he has to basically prevent the events that lead up to her death, I guess.
Right. Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. I'd love to check that out. I mean,
it's definitely, again, it's not like you shouldn't be your first anime. You haven't watched that many anime, so it's like it's not the next show I would recommend. It's very tropey, just like any anime, but it's actually not really well condensed plot. Like there's not a lot of just like filler or anything. It's good.
Have you got anything that you would do with time travel that you like is like a number one go to?
So the number one, if we're talking about time travel, not like going to our own body.
If you could go back to your body when you were 10. What would you do? No,
but 10 is stupid. I can't do anything as a 10-year-old. What am I going to do as a 10-year-old? Like, even if I was trying to, even if I was just intelligent, they'd be like, wow, he's intelligent. Nothing. I'm not. Well, you want me to become like this prodigy? And like even then, it's like that would be annoying. I mean, that would be boring. I mean, it wouldn't be boring. It would just be a hassle to be a prodigy. I want to do things that I regret not doing, not things like a completely new story.
You want self-regrets. Yeah.
I want to correct things that I didn't do. So, for example, so that's why I think if it's 14. The running theme is regret. So it's not like I want to fulfill my fantasies. It's more that I want to get closure on regret. Like, what if I told this girl that I liked her? Or like, what if I actually went to this party that I was invited to, but I was too socially anxious to go to or whatever. And you just go out and you have this whole hero's journey, and you're just a way better person for it.
See, I think I'd be a worse person for it. I think I'd go back and use my superior now intellect to like socially dominate the playground. I'd be like King. I would be King Bob. I'd be like, because the thing is, like, everyone, what the superpower that you'd have, because I think when people at that age, maybe not at 10, but like when you get a little bit older, like 13, 14, people get really anxious and like self-conscious, and they're like really worried, like, what do people think of me? I would be the most confident human in the world, because I'd walk around like, none of this matters, I'm a time traveler. And so I'd just like, everyone would think I'd be really cool, and I'd be or really arrogant, and I'd just be like, whatever, I don't care, you're a dumb kid. They'd be like, you're a dumb kid. I'd be like, no, I'm not. That's it. I'd look at the camera. I'd be like, you don't know.
I think the number one thing when I imagine it is the confidence change. Like, that's what changes the most. And for example, if I were to go back as a 10-year-old, 10 years old is when people would be like making fun of me for, like, let's say, liking Pokemon, I guess. Because once you're in high school, people don't care. At least in my high school, they're like, yeah, cool, you like the thing that you like. But when you're like 10, that's in the age where you're like, oh, you like the thing that I perceive as a baby thing. Oh, you're not as mature as I am, but we're all 10 years old. So it's like, so I would have the natural like adult response to that, and I would have been like, yeah, I'm allowed to like whatever I like, and then just walk away instead of just getting angry and like not having a good response to that.
Do you worry that you would you'd suck at like tests and stuff though? Because like I definitely don't know. I don't know if I could do. I don't know how dumb level GCSE level English, maths and science were, whether I'd actually still know that stuff or whether I'd now be like out of practice and struggle.
Which grade are we talking about? I mean, like,
so you're talking about, you're just 16. You're like 16.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't know. The 16 for me was geometry. I was the best at geometry, honestly. I was really good at geometry. I wasn't good at like trigonometry. Who's good at trigonometry? At least the average person isn't. But like, and also I like history. So I wouldn't remember again. I would just have to study. I wouldn't immediately know everything. Every test you have to study. I don't remember, the specific things that happened in the specific war. That wasn't as significant as like World War I or II. But like,
I've just realized I'd be a dropout. I've just realised it would all go horribly wrong for me because I've just said that. Oh yeah, it's really cool. I'd go back and be king of the playground. That would be boring after like 2 days. I'd then go. Mum would go, Toby, you need to go to school, and I'd just be like, I don't need to go to school. I'm an adult, and she'd be like, you're 10. So then I'd drop out of school, and then I'd probably run in with a bad crowd. I'd actually be I would ruin my own future. I would become like dropout Toby.
I just realized that we would have a similar situation in terms of we both went to like. So I went to art school, right? The fact that I did well in high school didn't matter. Like my grades and the kinds of classes that I was in did not matter into getting accepted to my art school. So I would have just not been in. I would have dropped out of the honors class. I would have gone down the classes. I wouldn't have been in all the honors classes that I would have been. I was smart that I didn't do any AP classes because I knew that do you know what AP is?
No.
AP is like college level, like you get college credits for being in these classes in high school. So like some of them did that because that would help you get accepted into really good colleges and you'll get extra credits.
Sure.
But I didn't do that because I knew I'm going to art school, even though I was able to go to these AP classes. Yeah, I would have just gone to the normal level. Yeah, I just wouldn't have tried as much, I guess. But I
know it's in the same vein as stock market, but I'll be honest, I would just like sealed Pokemon cards. I just hoard and hoard and hoard. I would be so happy 16, now.
So when you were 16, were those the cards that were being released at that time? Were they valuable still?
What year am I 16? I'm 28 now, so we're talking 12 years ago. It's now 2022, so 2010. Yeah. Wait,
2010
no,
cards
that's
aren't
not
valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely every old card is valuable, but they're not as valuable as like 1999.
What was 2010? That was. What was game was coming out then? That was going to be black and white, right?
Yeah, that was like who's.
Oh no! I mean, they are. You'd be surprised.
You know about the cards. I don't.
But the thing is that like at that time, it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't be buying like the modern stuff for then. I'd be buying like early like Johto, Hoenn, and because no one's charging for it at that point. The really before 2016. It was like, you can buy a packet of base set for £20. And you'd be like, £20 for a pack of cards? I'm not going to do that. Whereas obviously now you'd be laughing. It's like, it's the thing. I would have bought loads with the income I would have had at age 16. I don't know what income that was, but...
I didn't have... Oh, no, I had a job. My first job was, I guess, at 16. Yeah. Okay.
What'd you do? What'd you do? What was your job?
I was a wedding videographer because my dad has a wedding photography studio. Or just normal, any event, not just weddings.
Sure.
This week I was listening to the Pokemon theme song, like the dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
And I realized, wow, that's a pretty good theme song. Especially there are a lot of different variations. Like there's the Pokemon Origins version, which is like way more intense and electronic, whatever. And it reminded me of a time I was 17 in high school, and the other kids were discussing video game theme songs or just video game music in general. And this was before I really got into Pokemon music, or any music in general. And I just didn't bring that up. I didn't bring up Pokemon. I didn't bring up anything. Well, nowadays I would be super passionate about that. So if I went back in time, I would have been like, listen to this. You're going to like this one. Your kids are going to like this. But I think honestly that naturally goes to our next segment.
Yes, it does very well.
Our favorite music. The last 4 episodes, including this one, we've been counting down our favorite movies, shows, and video games. Now it's time for our top 3 to 5 favorite music artists.
Yeah.
At least for me, I don't know about you. We'll talk about it. Music is a huge part of my life. It's the thing that gives me honestly the most emotion out of anything. I mean, is that not a thing for you? Do you cry to music? Because I do.
I absolutely cry to music. I think you have a relationship to music though that is definitely I always think of as being particularly special. Like there's I think a way that I appreciate the art form, which is just enjoying listening to music, sometimes going on a journey with it. Sometimes I use it to help me sleep. Sometimes it's reliving memories and emotions. Yeah. I think you appreciate music on a couple other levels, though, that I'm not, which I'd love to know more about. Like, I know for you, it's a really big part of your life.
Well, people always act as if it's like, I had like a significant music event or like that I'm a musician and I know everything about music. It really isn't like that. It's not like because I'm classically trained in music or music helped me through a bad part or a good part of my life. It's more that something about melodies themselves actually trigger emotion for me. And whether they're attached to an event in my life or not. For example, I'll listen to a theme from a game, a video game that I've never played, sometimes don't even know the context, and I'd cry. For example,
wow.
Honestly, this is actually part of my fifth. So we're counting down top 5, right? And my 5th slot is just all the genres that it's not specific artists, it's just all the genres that I love. And so one of them is video game music. That's the kind of music that I listen to the most. So for example, I listened to Dearly Beloved and or Simple and Clean. Both of these songs from Kingdom Hearts. I've never played Kingdom Hearts, but I've cried to both of those themes.
Wow.
Because I listen to music for the melody. Other people, they may listen to the lyrics or for the beat. A lot of people nowadays listen just for the beat, honestly. But no, for me, it's the melodies. That's why a lot of my music is not like lyrical or anything. It's mostly like video game music. It's soundtracks. A lot of lo-fi. I mean, lo-fi isn't my favorite genre or anything, but a lot of time when I'm working, I'm listening to lo-fi. And I mean, that's not really based on the melody. That's more the beat and the vibe. But that's why I love jazz. I love orchestra music.
I think that's incredible, though, that you could just... Because for me, like, the idea that there's a bit of Kingdom Hearts music that I might really enjoy, right?
Yeah.
But I won't go out of my way to seek that out. Yeah. It has to introduce itself into my life either through the result of me playing the game or some other medium, whether it's like... I might know that track as the background bit of music for a video I saw on YouTube, and I've gone, wow, the music in this is really good. What's it from? Oh, it's the Kingdom Hearts thing. That's cool. But then I'll get interested in that one track. It won't make me want to explore the whole album. Yeah. I think we have a very different relationship to music in that way.
Maybe I'm addicted to like the feeling of like getting emotional towards music. So I'm like, oh, what if there are other songs or tracks in this album or in the soundtrack that can do that for me? So let me listen to that soundtrack. So we talked about this last episode. I don't play video games, but I know a lot about the video games that I don't play, right? So same thing with the soundtracks. I know I've listened to a bunch of video game and anime soundtracks for things that I haven't consumed. For example, Undertale. It's my favorite soundtrack other than Pokemon or any Pokemon soundtrack. Because Pokemon is my number one favorite kind of music, honestly. But Undertale, I've never played Undertale. I know the context. I've watched playthroughs. I know everything, at least about the story and the characters, but Undertale music is my second favorite like video game soundtrack, and I've cried to various Undertale tracks. Sonic Mania, Donkey Kong, a lot of these tracks that these are very famous like video game soundtracks, and it's mostly because of the melody itself. It's like I don't know the context of some Sonic Mania tracks because they have to do with a level that I've never seen. But I'm like, that is a sick melody. It goes places that make me feel emotions.
Have you ever listened to the soundtrack for Halo 3 ODST?
No, I'd never look at soundtracks for shooters. Maybe I should because there are probably some with a lot of good tracks. But it's like they're not melodically driven. The reason I love video game music is because the number one thing is melody. Because obviously there's no lyrics, the beats aren't as important. It's all like a really sick melody.
What do you mean by melodies? I know that's going to sound like a really noobish question for music, but what do you mean by a melody?
Melody is literally the tune. It's literally you can sing the tune, for example. That's the melody.
There's some pretty iconic ones in the Halo series as a whole, but specifically
the Halo theme song. I know that obviously.
There are lots of that, but Halo ODST specifically. Okay. It's completely different to the rest of the series, and the music the only way to describe it is like neon jazz. I don't know what word I can use to bring it to life. And anyone who's played ODST, I think, would relate to that and know immediately what I'm saying. But if you haven't, it's really hard to visualize, but it's this feeling of... If you ever want to kind of brood and be reflective, it's the sound of rainfall at night. You're alone in a city and there's lights coming on, but they're far away. They're far away lights, and there's this beautiful cascade of like jazz and color as you are moving through this isolation, wandering as if you're on an alien planet. That's the spirit of ODST's music, and I think you would love it.
Okay, dude. So there has been this Jubilife City remix, I think by Mesmonium on YouTube. I may even play it in the background right now so you guys understand what I'm talking about. It basically is, what if like there was just a jazz player, it's like night jazz. That's why I don't know what the genre is, and I've been trying to find this genre. It maybe like Skyline Jazz or whatever. Listen to this, and I've been trying to find just music that sounds like that, because it feels like you're in the rain at night in a city and you're just listening to jazz, but it's like the jazz is reverberating through the rain, and like it's just a trombone, and like you can feel the emotion of the person playing the saxophone, and like listen to my thing and I'll listen to your thing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's kind of this really relaxing, like...
Let me hear your thing.
I think my one has a bit more tension.
This is the kind of music I would listen to while I'm studying or working sometimes, other than if I'm tired of lo-fi for the day or anime soundtracks and stuff like that. I will put on some of this Halo track that you sent me, where it's like just nice piano with a melody. What sucks is that, so sometimes I'm like, I want just the relaxing tracks from various anime. I want a compilation of that. I want to listen to that while I'm working. But whenever they do that, it's literally just a piano. It's always a piano cover of like Ghibli. It's never like the actual. There's no compilation of the actual tracks that are relaxing. Whenever you write relaxing, it either means lo-fi or piano. No, I want something that's like maybe more involved, maybe some violin and flute, but it's still relaxing. You know, relaxing shouldn't mean just piano or lo-fi. But I guess other than like video game and soundtracks and for anime or instrumental stuff, the number 1-2 genres that are lyrical, that are actually songs, is alternative rock and J-pop rock. Like, because I'm a huge anime fan, I think what got me into music was like anime openings, and that's like what got me into anime in general. Like, that's the thing that gives me the most emotion. Because I think, honestly, for me personally, my favorite art form is the anime opening. Anime opening is just a combination of so many different kinds of art. You have the music, you have the context, you have the animation, you have how good the animation and the music goes together. You have the story, that if you know the story, it just heightens the feeling. I mean, there's a lot of anime openings that I don't even know the story, and I've teared up.
You've told me this actually, and since you did, I've been noticing it. Like when watching anime, I'll watch the opening and I'm like, this isn't just some credit sequence. This isn't just something, like, there's story in here, and you can actually learn so much about the show based on what's going on in the openings. I think it's fantastic that you
when
can appreciate
Ace Trainer Liam told me that he's like, I don't understand the point of, like, he wants there to not be an anime opening. He hates anime openings. I mean, he didn't say hate, but he does not see the point of them and does not get any enjoyment from them. I don't understand that. I get like skipping it, every once in a while, or just, I mean, I understand watching it once and then skipping it the rest. A lot of people do that. I personally don't. If it's a good opening, I will listen to it every time. Like every Attack on Titan opening, I listen to that when I watch the show. So that's my fifth spot. My fifth spot is all the anime openings that I love. I'm not gonna now bring them up. If you're a connoisseur of anime openings, chances are I like the ones that you like too. That's it. But my favorite anime opening of all time is the first opening of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood,
which will be the next anime I watch, I think. Cool. Based on your recommendations, so I'll be specifically watching out for the opening. I'll let you know.
I think it has a good balance of really good animation and really good song. Well, there may be better songs for anime openings, and there may be better animation. I think one of the best balance.
Oh yeah.
So that's my fifth spot. What about you?
So I don't have as many as you, and I think that part of that comes from the fact that I just have a different relationship to music, which is obviously I enjoy music like anybody else. I don't think there's anyone in the world who doesn't enjoy music, but I have like struggle finding genres. It really is a case for me that I have that thing where I'll watch a show and I'll hear a soundtrack, or I'll be at a club. I'm not at a club anymore. I don't go to clubs anymore. I'll be at a pub and I'll hear a bit of music, and I'm like, oh, I hear that a lot. I'm at the gym, I hear a bit of music. And so if I hear something enough that I enjoy it, I'll then go to iTunes and I'll just download that one song. And I'm never compelled to go through full soundtracks. But
I'm never compelled to go through full albums. I barely do it. I wish I did it more. It's mostly like soundtracks that I do the full listening to, but me too, I don't really listen to entire albums.
But there's sort of two artists that kind of, and they're going to sound like very different artists, but both Lana Del Rey and Woodkid. Woodkid is the, and I love both Woodkid, of these. Actually. Yeah, well, I mean, recently my love has been reignited from watching Arcane, which because there's that song.
Yeah, so I was listening to it. I'm like, I haven't listened to Woodkid in a long time, and I'm like, wait, is that? It took me like 5 minutes to even think of who remembering the fact that Woodkid exists. So I'm like, but this sounds familiar. Woodkid. Yeah. What's cool about Woodkid is I think he also makes the music videos or something like
that, which are always amazing, right?
I don't remember what part. I just remember the aspect that he not only makes the music, but he makes some other aspect of his art. But maybe he directs the music videos. I don't remember. But
the reason I sort of blend together Woodkid and Lana Del Rey, and I think this is maybe more specific to me than maybe it would be for other people, or maybe I'd love to know in the comments of the YouTube video if anyone is having this experience. Is I find this music from either of them, I love them for the same reasons, which is that I find it quite ethereal and quite it's not grounded in reality. Does that make any sense to you, Ron?
The word ethereal definitely makes sense for me when it comes to Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
Woodkid, close to ethereal. I think for me, I think of like atmospheric.
Yeah,
because it's not like as airy as Lana Del Rey. It doesn't make you feel like you're
a little bit more
epic. It's epic. It feels like a movie soundtrack. That's why I love Woodkid.
I find that it's music that I can listen to, and it can really take me outside of myself and put me in a position where I'm looking at life from a third person point of view, and that I have more. I don't know, agency. Just through listening to music, I sort of see things as they are, as opposed to the day-to-day mundanities of life. Suddenly, when I'm listening to this music, it just sort of, it sounds very artsy, but it definitely, it's the kind of music that helps disconnect me from the here and now and allows me to escape for a little bit. And I don't know what that is, but I love it.
It's the opposite of what I thought you would listen to, because I think we talk about your music taste, but like, I assumed it was more just like poppy and more like just anything happy. Well, that's not Lana Del Rey. Well, okay, I actually don't listen to Lana Del Rey, honestly. No. I've never really found a hook for me. Because again, I listen to melody. Like, melody is my number one reason for listening to music. And for me, I guess Lana Del Rey, her melodies are very like, I can't really sing her songs as easily. Or like, I can't remember the melodies other than like, summertime sadness.
Yeah.
But even that, you see, like the notes drag on, and it just like it blurs the melody. Instead of like a clear melody, the melodies are very like soft and like almost like they're deteriorating at the end of each like line or whatever. Sometimes imagine a melody being like this, where it's like that's a clear thing. I can see it, I can feel it. But Lana Del Rey is more like Jello, where it's like, it unravels, and it's harder to hold in your hand. It's more like a liquid.
Breaks convention. I agree.
Normal melody is a solid. I can actually put that in the podcast. That's a cool analogy.
I like that.
Like some of her notes blend into each other, and that just isn't my kind of thing.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
It's definitely good music. Like she's a good artist. It's just not my thing.
I've just got this kind of imagery with this music, specifically with Lana Del Rey, of sort of being sat outside on a sunny day, drinks in hand, being a little drunk on alcohol, but also a little drunk on life, and just kind of with a group of friends and just sort of third-personing and seeing life is good. And that's what I feel. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
I have that for one of the songs in my later albums that I'm going to bring.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to getting to that. What's kind of next on your list? I'm definitely interested.
Is probably the most currently popular artist. Maybe he's actually the most popular artist right now. I think my fourth favorite artist is The Weeknd.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
The last two albums are one of the few albums. There are not many albums. The next four artists are the only artists where I like a majority of the songs of the specific albums that I love. While other artists, I may absolutely love one of their songs, but it's the only song of theirs that I like. While The Weeknd, almost every popular song that I've heard of his, I love.
So I've listened to, obviously, Blinded by the Light. That's him, isn't it? Yeah. So I know that song, but again, it's I've heard that song, I've taken that song. So where would you recommend I go next to enjoy more of him?
Your Eyes is, I think, the same album. Your Eyes. Oh, Save Your Tears for Another Day. That's a more sadder version, I guess, of those two songs, but it's the same. What I love about the Weeknd currently is the 80s kind of sound. So my whole life I've been growing up with 80s music. I'm definitely more than the average person because my dad is a huge 80s music fan, and normally you adopt the music taste of your parents.
Yes.
And so yeah, the sound of the 80s. Well, I'm not a big fan of like the lyrics of a lot of 80s songs or like the singing of a lot of 80s songs. The melodies and the instruments I'm a huge fan of. And The Weeknd is like taking the 80s, modernizing it with really good singing and just production. I mean, I'm a fan of like a lot of pre-modern The Weeknd songs, like his first like popular songs, like I Can Feel My Face When I'm With You. You know that song?
I've got this horrible thing where like you could say a song and you'll be like, oh, that's by that artist, and I'll just go, is it? Oh, okay. I'm genuinely awful, and I always have been at that. And then suddenly I'll get a little collection of like 2 or 3 songs, and I'm like, oh, I know it's that artist. Oh, I quite like their music, and it sort of sits together.
But what's the coolest thing about The Weeknd is just that the last 2 albums, like 2 albums in a row that are critically acclaimed, that I personally enjoy a lot, that's very rare. Like, either there's always an evolution where like the next album may have some songs that you like as much as the previous album, but like he's gone in a different direction or he's gone back to his old direction. No, 2 albums that really feel like the same. I mean, his newer album is more sad, but it's the same exact sound. It's the same genre, and it's just more of The Weeknd. I guess the genre is what? What is the genre? 80s? That's not a genre. Whatever the genre The Weeknd is, any band that does that, I do enjoy.
I'm going to listen to some more so that hopefully I can recommend you other songs that I know that I'll go, oh, this is the genre, and then you can hopefully...
Same for the comments section. Any 80s... I love this trend of like a lot of new songs are sounding like 80s and 70s music. Have you noticed that? I mean, this is a fact. Like, I'm not using you to verify whether or not it's true, but and what's cool is that this is coming after like the whole like 2 years ago, the majority of music was hip hop, and it still is. And I'm just not a huge hip hop fan. So it's like it's a very cool finally getting rock and traditional, I guess, pop music back instead of just EDM and hip hop like it was for a majority of the 2010s. Which, I had a couple of, EDM sounding songs from the 2010s that I enjoyed, and just, a bunch of hip hop artists that I respect and I enjoy their music.
There's a track you might like, Light Up the Night by the Proto Man, which is something that sounds like similar to what you're describing with a Weeknd.
I'll listen to that right after the podcast.
Yeah, I guess video game soundtracks again.
Cool.
But like in the
I
world,
like that.
I like that. I like video game soundtracks, but actually specifically, and this one kind of comes with a little bit of a story. Do you remember when World was going to end in 2012?
Yeah.
This is relevant. So the Mayan calendar's doing its countdown, and all of us are in, 2012, black and white. I'm in like school/college, and we're all kind of worried. Oh, the world's gonna end, and everyone's like, no, it's not. Don't be stupid. But we're kids, and it's or teenagers, I guess, and it's all kind of scary. And there's this website pops up, and I don't even know how I find it, but a countdown starts towards the end of the world, and with it, slowly, the Majora's Mask appears on screen from Zelda.
Okay.
And it's not a pre-existing image of the Majora's Mask by Nintendo. It's like this highly detailed 3D graphic with like detail to the point where you can sort of see the grain in the wood that makes up the mask, and this animation starts shaking. Yeah, it's really cool, and it starts shaking, and the closer the countdown gets, it starts to shake more. Its eyes glow red, and as it gets to the end of the world, all of it was promo for an album by a group or person called Theamphany. I think I'm saying that right, and it is a symphonic rendition of the Majora's Mask soundtrack.
Nice.
Or an orchestral one, and so too they did a sequel to it with, and it's got like it's got the Deku mask from the same game.
Yeah.
But these 2 soundtracks, more so than any other game soundtrack, they're elevated in such an incredible way that, again, mood setting, and like I really feel when I listen to these things alone, while I'm walking alone or in the rain, I feel like it's the end of the world. I feel that this is it. I have reached the edge of existence and I'm about to drop off when I listen to these soundtracks, and it's just profound.
This is crazy. The last two, so far all the music you're recommending is like either epic or like ethereal or atmospheric, and I didn't expect that, honestly.
Well, that's cool that you didn't expect. I'm glad. I mean, I think as well, specifically though, what I do love is within the soundtrack there is a single track called Healing Termina, which is it's a standout track because the rest of the sound is so dark and gloomy and end of the world.
Yeah.
But Healing Termina is exactly that. It's healing. It's a journey through saving the world, and there's part of the Zelda main theme in there. And so it just kind of, there's this like hopefulness in it as well, which I really like. But if you look it up, if you look, Orchestral Majora's Mask soundtrack, you'll find it easily enough. But it was just so incredible as well that it was tied into this cool website that it was ambiguous as to what this website was, and I loved stuff like that. I really did. I really, really did.
I do too, honestly. I mean, that's what I've been doing since like 2012. I mean, I'm doing that with Pokemon. I'm constantly looking for orchestrated or remixes or remasters of Pokemon music. I would say I'm honestly an expert on that kind of that sphere online for Pokemon music. Like, it's hard to say that because I don't create these themes, but like even the people who create the themes, they're not the ones literally typing every day remix, Pokemon remixes and trying to listen to every one of them, but I am. So it's interesting to see that from a different franchise too.
You've had the opportunity to see the Pokemon Symphonic Orchestra play?
Yes, I have. Oh, I have a story from there. That's actually the first time I've ever met like a fan, I guess, and that was back when I only had 20,000 subscribers. So when did that ever happen? And honestly, I wish she had like social media. She took a picture with me, and like she was super excited to meet me. It was crazy. What? Like a girl fangirling over me? That would never happen. I never thought that would happen, honestly. Like right at the beginning of my career, that probably changed my perspective.
Well, I suppose you assume that all your viewers are like just guys your age who are
or younger,
and then you're like, oh,
she was taller than me, and she didn't like, she expressed the fact that she has no social media or anything. So I'm like, because I wanted the picture, I wanted to like say on Twitter, oh, I met a fan or whatever, but she's like, I don't have any social media. So it's like I'll never know the first fan I've ever met. Who that was.
I got really lucky with the first viewer I ever met was a girl called Claire, and she came up to me at the first social in the city that I went to. And at this point, I wasn't Birdkeepertoby. I had a vlog channel that had all of 300 subscribers. And this person knocked, Toby! And I like turn around, and she's like, I watch your channel, I'd love to get a photo. And I was like, you don't understand. I am so much more excited to get to have this conversation than you are. Yeah. Like, without a doubt, it's the coolest thing. I've still got the photo. We kept in contact for about a year, actually. I was like, if I see you in my comment section, I will always reply to you and that kind of thing. I think we spoke on Tumblr back when I actually had a Tumblr. But I have no idea what that person's doing now. I highly doubt they are here and listening to this. But dude, what an incredible story.
I guess my third favorite band, I guess, because it's not like, here's what's funny. It's Paramore. Okay?
Oh, I love Paramore. Yeah.
But I don't really listen to their like pop punk thing, like their older music. I'm a way bigger fan of their last two albums, which is more like just pop rock. Let me send you an example of one of the most popular songs from the last album. Songs like Hard Times and Told You So. This exact sound, again, it sounds more 80s, but this exact sound I love. It's one of the last album is one of the few albums that I love a majority of the songs, and that's why it's here.
I know this song. It's a great song.
Yeah,
great song.
It's just it's less about angst. Like, I've never had this teen angst, so I don't relate to like punk rock as much. Although I do like the sound, because again, it's punk rock is very close to like J-pop rock, or J-rock. So it's like, I get it. I love J-rock. So I do enjoy like, Misery Business or whatever.
I like it a lot. This is cool, and I'm glad to kind of hear that you're enjoying their modern stuff, because I think it's really common to hear like, oh yeah, back when they were like good, or back when they, and like, I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool.
It's actually, my next band is the same thing. Or
would you? I've got less on my list, so do you want to say them now?
No, you go next.
Okay, all right. Well, it's sort of my only thing left is the thing, which is I am a huge fan of Tenacious D.
Of course, I mean.
Have we spoken about this before?
Yeah, you talked about their movie as one of your favorite movies.
Oh right, yeah. Well, it's the same attitude, isn't it? It's the two friends are having fun, and it was able to go into the world and be something silly and enjoyable. And what I found interesting is I remember a conversation with a friend who said that they're failed artists, aren't they? This was a long time ago. This is when I was in school. And I just sat there thinking, you know, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the person making this comment was a kid. I was a kid. We were not, neither of us qualified to even have this discussion. But I just remember thinking, who are you to say that? I enjoy their music. I think their music is great. And actually, they're my favourite band. But there's also a lot of nostalgic attachment. I had a friend, Dan Foster, who sadly passed away, and we used to film skits as if we were Jack Black and Kyle Gass. And we loved it. I don't know, we just loved Tenacious D, and that was a thing that we got to share. And so it's, for me, really evocative of that time when I was like 15, 16, 17, that we would hang out together and we'd sit there and play Halo and talk rubbish about people and just eat bad food and that kind of thing, and try and exercise our adultism, but then actually we're kids, if you know what I mean. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about.
And it was just, you know, spending Saturdays and Sundays and Friday evenings and all that stuff hanging out, and there's a lot of that packed in there for me. To me, one of my favorite experiences is sitting on my own until like 3-4 in the morning, playing Halo 3, listening to the Tenacious D soundtrack.
Wow.
with bad snacks. That's like a perfect cathartic experience for me, as a result of all this. It's just my way of connecting to him, so it's a nice thing. It's a special thing, you know.
There are a bunch of Tenacious D songs that I enjoy. I don't remember any of them. Like, I can't tell you the title of them. I just remember, because I guess it's more also I'm enjoying the music video. I'm enjoying the energy of Jack Black.
Of the two of them.
I like the concept of the song. It's very close to my love of anime openings, where it's like you love the complete package, not just the music. So I definitely relate to that.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of people online wouldn't like think that Tenacious D would like jam with the Birdkeepertoby family-friendly persona. Yeah, I mean, there is literally not a single song without like aggressive swearing in it and that kind of thing.
As a friend of yours, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
for you. I just didn't know I didn't think it was gonna be your number one favorite.
No, it literally is.
The next band was, I guess, the band I've been the most a fan of. Like, it's one of the few bands that I've ever actually like followed like what's going on with them until my number one spot, and that is Arctic Monkeys.
I don't know them really at all.
Oh, shut up.
No, really, I don't. I've heard of them, but I don't. I couldn't tell you I could not tell you an Arctic Monkeys song.
That's crazy. So normally it's like the British person is going to be like, I love Arctic Monkeys, and the American's like, oh, me too. I just heard of them, but like,
yeah, wild.
That's hilarious. So Arctic Monkeys, like, I mean, it's literally rock. It's just rock.
Okay.
It's not pop rock. It's not punk rock. It's, I mean, the first few albums are like garage rock. Like, it's just like, you know, these British people like in a, you know, very not grungy, but like just dirty sounding rock. You know, it's just, imagine. I don't know the terms because I don't know. I'm not a British person. You probably know the terms where it's like this kind of British person. I don't know what to call them. More northern British, like they have a northern accent, I think.
Like a Scouser, like a.
I don't know. Like, just imagine like they're not playing punk music, but they themselves are probably more like rowdy boys, you know, like rowdy lads. British northern lads playing rock music, whatever. That's what the first few albums sound like, and that's what made them popular. But like, I'm actually a fan of their more modern things. Like, cool. And people are, you know, the original Arctic Monkey fans are not a huge fan of the last album, which is their biggest change. Like, it was no longer rock. It was more like, it sucks. I thought you would have known the song.
I'm so sorry. You're going to have to, but then this is brilliant. This is what the podcast is for, is you can now send me links and I can listen to Arctic Monkeys for the rest of the night. And you can
okay, so I'm a big fan
state.
for anybody listening to of the AM album. I'm actually not a huge fan of their most recent album. That was a little too experimental for me. Not like I'm a big fan of Melody, and their last album is just a lot of just talking, singing, which is, I mean, it has its merit, but it's like I can't find the melody a lot. But the previous album is the perfect balance of rock, but also and melody, and like it's atmospheric. It's like the whole. I mean, it's called AM for multiple reasons. AM Arctic Monkeys, but also AM like the time of day. AM. So like all the songs make you feel like it's like the singer is like in the middle of the night, having anxieties or drunk or high or just thinking about his life or whatever or his regrets. But it has melody. It's not like sad. It's just like still rock.
What's your favorite Arctic Monkey song?
It's the classic. It's the most famous song outside of the UK, which is "Do I Want to Know." That's what got me into it. So I'm gonna send you that one, and then maybe you'll listen to it now.
I'm literally making notes. Like
the album has a lot of range.
Oh, I know this.
Yeah, it's
I've
a
heard
very
this.
famous song.
Yeah, of course I've heard this. Yeah.
So
That's exactly what I was talking about. I of course now I know this song is Arctic Monkeys, but I wouldn't have known before.
The next song is going to be, I guess, the most rockish song on the album, which is Are You Mine?
Very nice. Yeah, I think I've heard this before, But yeah, this is great.
And then the last song is their most chill song, and that one I have a story about.
It's definitely, like, it's not up my street by any means. Like, it's just a case of I'm not...
Yeah, you're not familiar. Which is weird, because it's like... That's probably the most famous British band that is not as famous outside of UK. And Mad Sounds, which is like their most like chill song on their album. When I was graduating, literally we had a party right after graduation, and we stayed up very late after the party. You know, after all the guests left, I stayed over the host, and me and a couple of other guys, friends that, you know, this is our last time really hanging out with each other. You know, after this we're going our separate ways. Although, I mean, a majority of them I still have seen after high school, and one or two of them are still friends of mine. But this was like literally the end of an era for us. We're sitting down at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We, you know, pulled an all-nighter, I guess. And we're around the bonfire that this host has in his backyard. I mean, usually the people who have host a party, they have bigger houses. They have...
Yeah.
And the weather's perfect. It's like June. So it's like we're outside watching the sunrise around a fire, listening to Mad Sounds, which is this chill kind of song that I'm assuming a lot of people listen to when they're high.
Just a moment.
And just that's one of my that exact moment was a moment I'll remember forever.
Incredible.
So throughout that summer vacation from between high school and going into college, this album was the soundtrack for my life. I was listening to this entire album constantly while I was like just becoming an adult, like doing, you know, going through new experiences, and just like, I mean, during the summer vacation, that was when I started my channel, and also took up bike riding and started going on walks, and really started doing the things that I would end up doing throughout all of my adult life so far.
Yeah.
There's no other moment in your life where you're between a kid and an adult, and that was the soundtrack of my life during that time. It's crazy.
That's amazing. That's so cool, man. And then so this is number 2, so what's your number 1?
Until I found this artist, this was my favorite band. Or at least that album was my favorite piece of like media.
Okay.
The next is this Japanese duo called Yoasobi that you probably don't know, but they're probably the most famous duo outside of that is also kind of popular outside of America. So I'm going to send you their breakthrough debut song before I talk about them.
I know you've been excited for this, sharing music with friends. I know this is your jam.
Yes, the reason I made this podcast, to share my tastes with Toby. So this song, their first song, Yoru ni Kakeru, or Racing into the Night, it has 250, almost 300 million views. And that's that's more than there are people in Japan, right? So a majority of that, not majority, a lot of that is just Western fans too. It's one of the few Japanese, J-pop artists that are just also popular in America, but not to the point where they're mainstream in America or anything. But it's like people in America have heard them. All of their music has an actual story. Maybe it's based on like a short story in Japan, or like it's like it goes together with a story that they've come up with or whatever. It's all like there's a context to almost all the songs. This band is probably the exact taste I have in melody. This duo.
Okay.
Of singer and writer, and it's very melody driven, just pop music where it's like, and it's Japan melody, so it's like the chords are more elaborate, I guess, because in America we have the traditional like 4 chords, right? Like the famous 4 chords that a lot of pop songs are, sound like, or just any pop song is made up of 4 chords.
Yeah.
While in Japan the chords are more jazzy, they're completely different than the ones in America. This is a good example of them doing it well. Fully melody-driven music, and what's amazing about this band is like you hear one song and you're like, okay, this is gonna be a one-hit wonder. This is a very popular song, but it's like, how do you match this? How do you mimic this success? Every single song they release hits the charts, is like #1 in Japan, and is as good, has the same sound. Like, they're not like, this wasn't a fluke. They know how to make this exact sound that I love, and every song, even when they're experimenting, it's like, no, this is still like not far off from the original sound that I fell in love with.
What is it you love about the sound? Where does it take you? Or what is
the melody and the singing? It's very like the melody. If you listen to the song, you're gonna hear it, and if you sing the melody, it's not like na 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 na. It's more like da na 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 na. It's very jazzy. There's a lot of notes. It's not like. And sorry, I could have sung that way better, but my voice is done after recording a podcast for this long. But it's very intricate melody. It's not like, basic. The song was made just to sell music. It was these are passionate artists that are making music that is elaborate, at least melodically. Like when you think elaborate music, maybe that's a lot of instruments or like it's epic and grand. Where this is like melodically elaborate, while still being satisfying. Like if you think of a lot, like sometimes I love jazz, but like sometimes jazz is obviously elaborate, but then it'll end up in places that you maybe don't want it to go, or it's like it doesn't resolve in a way that you want to. But all of these, and especially with Japanese music or music from a different culture, you're not as satisfied with the chords that they are satisfied with, because what you're satisfied with is usually what you're used to. And sometimes Japanese songs, maybe this verse will resolve with a note that I'm not too happy with. But in Japan, that's how you resolve that note. That's how you resolve that chord progression. But no, this band, it's like, this is the #1 band I think could be popular in America. And here's the last bit of information that made it go from my favorite, like just one of my favorite J-pop bands to my favorite J-pop band. So this whole time I'm like, yeah, this could be popular in the West, and it kind of is, among anime fans at least, or like just J-pop listeners. So I'm like, imagine this was just translated into English. This would be super popular. And this is one of the only bands where, like, after they became mega stars, they're like, how about we translate our lyrics into English and re-record it with English lyrics? Not only is it just English translation of the songs, but the syllables are the exact same sounding syllables as the Japanese song.
Oh, whoa.
So, for example, the beginning of this most famous Yoasobi song, Racing into the Night, is Shizumu yo ni in Japanese, right? But in English, it's Shizumu yo on me.
Okay.
It's the same exact vowels.
Whoa. That's got to be really hard to make that work.
It's the most dedication I've seen to just please fans and just to make art that could connect throughout the entire world.
Wow.
Like, people who've heard the Japanese version, when they click on the English version, they're like, it's uncanny because they think they're listening to the Japanese version, but all of a sudden they're hearing English.
That's so cool.
Because it's the same exact vowels, and they've done that to multiple songs where they've done this successfully. Obviously, the English and the grammar isn't perfect because of this, because they're really trying to get the words to sound the same.
Yeah, sure.
But it's still successful. It's the same exact message. When I heard that for the first time, I teared up. I was like, imagine not only saying that I want to see this kind of art, but they actually do it. And they do it better than anybody you've ever seen. Because I've seen, English covers of like J-pop songs of, anime openings. There's a bunch of them, but they sound completely different. They're not and they're rarely as good as the original. But this is the exact same band singing the same song in English with the same exact vowels, so it sounds the exact same thing. So you can actually listen to this in the car with your friends, and they're not going to be like, ew, Japan, I don't like that.
Yeah. Dude, I love this, and I love that you're so excited about this. Like, I just think that's really cool. And I think if this whole podcast is to share interests, and one of your main interests is music, and this is your favorite music, I think I'm going to have to give it a listen. I don't think I have much of a choice.
So yeah, I'll recommend my top 3 favorite Yoasobi songs.
Please do.
And what's crazy is that 3 is not enough. It's like, that's one of the few bands where I can actually I have like 10 songs that I love as much as the first song that I fell in love with. which is I guess the same as like Arctic Monkeys, maybe even Paramore, and definitely The Weeknd. And that's why those are my 4 favorite artists.
Wow, I mean, great, and I'm looking forward to listening to like certainly straight away Arctic Monkeys. I'm like, oh, I could listen to that.
Oh yeah,
this.
Yes,
like immediately that was a no-brainer. But this other one, I will, definitely give it a go. I'm gonna give you some homework as well for after. I'll send you a links at the end of like, hey, have a listen sometime when you're feeling up for chill vibes.
Please do. I don't think I would not enjoy any music that you recommend. Because like again, like I have particular tastes, so like maybe you won't enjoy my taste, but like I mean, it seems like maybe your taste is based on your interests and or your atmosphere, which like I love atmospheric music or anything that matches some kind of tone of a specific vibe.
I think we've probably just about hit the end of the show, haven't we?
I mean, there's not much else to say. You guys know what we are by now. If you made it through 4 episodes, I mean, we haven't evolved yet, and it's going to be interesting to see how different this podcast is going to be in like 30 episodes. But it's crazy to see almost the evolution in 4 episodes, at least internally. Like I'm definitely.
I felt that this episode has been our best one yet.
Definitely, but I feel like every episode has been better than the last. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna keep on trying to please. So yeah, if you are listening, I hope you've been enjoying the Calm Mind podcast, and definitely let us know your favorite things about it, what you'd like to see, what you've enjoyed listening to in the comments, and if you're listening to us or wherever you're listening to us, likes, comments, algorithms, all that good stuff.
Yeah.